Hey guys, welcome back to another Creative Tap tutorial. Now, as I was looking for inspiration for doing some sort of UI loading animations, I came across the and I remembered the Apple Mac kind of crash kind of animation, which is this spinning beach ball of doom, which is what I call it, because whenever I see it, there is always doom and gloom. Everything's always going to crash. So hopefully After Effects won't crash when I'm trying to animate this. But this tutorial is just going to go over how to create this little kind of neat animation. Okay, so obviously if you haven't checked the other tutorials, there's one where we create an animation like this, very simple. And then there's another simple animation like this, and then this kind of Nintendo Wii inspired one. But this tutorial is all about this little guy by here. So let's have a quick breakdown of what's going on, because there's more going on in this one than the other ones. So we've got this royal blue background, okay? That's just very, very simple. Then let's turn this off and this off. We've got a very, very basic shape layer here where we've added a angular gradient, and I'll show you how to do that. Then we've got this texture, which if we double click is zoomed in, is actually this using the angular gradient again, and then we come back in, where is it, spinning beach ball, we come back in and we've added a twirl on there, and we actually animate the rotation of this with a little expression. So that expression is time times 150. And so then we also have this being cut off with an alpha matte, because it goes above, so we actually use an alpha matte to kind of make sure it doesn't go over the edges. And then we have this kind of like little nice sort of glint on top. Okay, so that's a very basic breakdown. So let's kind of close some of these first, just so we can kind of see what's going on, make it a lot more simple. Let's close these. And this is the overlaid texture, but we'll close that for now. So what we'll do is composition, new composition, and Apple Mac loading wheel tutorial. Okay, 1920 by 1080 is fine. 25 frames per second is what I'm working with, and then 5 seconds again. That's all we need. So let's click OK. First thing I'm going to do is create that background solid. So layer, new, solid, and let's go with blue, and I'm going to chuck a gradient ramp. So come over to the effects and presets and type in ramp or gradient ramp, click and drag it on like I did in the other tutorials if you watch them. Let's get a sort of strong royal blue, and then let's get a light sky blue, and that's a little bit too much, so something like that. Yeah, light sky blue like that, just so we've got something nice going on there. I'm going to right click and rename this to BG, so that's the background, and let's lock it. So now nothing will happen if we click and drag. And the next thing we want to do, so we want to start creating that sort of color wheel, let's call it. So let's come back into this. I'm going to get my ellipse tool, holding Control and Shift. I'm going to click and then Control and Shift to create this circle. Just for good measure, I always do this, Control, unless I don't need it in the center, but Control or Command double click this pan behind tool, and that'll make sure that your anchor point is in the center. So Control or Command and double click. Right, so next we want to create a angular kind of look with this. Just make sure that you have your circle with no stroke, so click, make sure it's none, and just a white fill. Next I want you to go to layer with the layer selected, layer styles, and gradient overlay. Now the reason we're not using gradient in this fill is because you can only do linear and radial, okay? But with the gradient overlay you can do angle. I was going to say angular, but same thing. So if we come down into the gradient overlay and select this to angle, and then go to edit gradient, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this color a red, this end color a red as well. Now in between I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to make this sort of purple. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to make this sort of blue. I'm going to click here, so forth, and just work my way down these colors, a light blue, then a green, then a yellow, and let's sort of start spacing these out. So this is what we're going to end up having, just basically a color wheel, okay? And yeah, we're good. That's, you may want to spend time spacing them if you want, but I'm just going to kind of go with that, and I'm going to click OK. Okay, so we'll bring this down. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to give this a little kind of bevel. Okay, so let's go Layer, make sure selected, sorry, and I'll actually rename it to color wheel. Okay, excellent. Right, so next go to Layer, Layer Styles, Bevel and Emboss. Now come into the Bevel and Emboss section and bring this up to about there. I'm going to go 70 for mine. And with the shadow opacity, I'm going to bring this down to 50. I think, yeah, 50 is going to be alright. And maybe you can change the altitude just so it's a little more subtle, and the angle if you need to, just something like that. So our highlights on top, because we'll add an extra highlight later. So that's all good. So we've got our color wheel. Now what I want to do next is select that color wheel and hit Command or Control and D, and it'll duplicate it another one on top. So we'll turn this bottom one off and we'll rename color wheel 2 to B and W, so black and white. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll come into the layer styles. I'm going to delete the gradient overlay. No, I'm going to delete the emboss, sorry. Okay, and I'm going to come into the gradient overlay and I'm going to edit gradient. Now what you want to do with this, okay, we're going to go black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white. So this one, the location is 0. With the second one, I want to set this to 10. Okay, I keep on hitting enter, so don't hit enter. So edit gradient, this one at 0, let's change it to white. Then this one at location 10, change it to black. Then click this third one, change location to 20, so we're going up in 10s, and change it back to white. This one, let's go 40, change it to black, and keep on going on. So this one, let's put it to 50. So we're going up in increments of 10, and then this one needs to be white. So we've got 0, 10, 20, I missed out 30, so let's put this to 30, sorry. And then this one to 40. And then this one to 50, and we want it to be black. Then we'll add another one, put the location to 60. Let's change it to white. Another one, put the location to 70, and change it to black. Another one, put it to 80. It was on 80.8. That's fine. Put it to white, and then final one, let's put it to 90, and we want this black, and we want this last one. Click it. We want it white. Okay. So right now that's given us that, and it's not looking too good at the moment. So what you want to do is select each one, and you'll have this little color midpoint. Just take it on each one all the way over to the left. So click all the way over to the left. Click all the way over to the left. Click, and keep on doing that throughout, and we'll start building that look. Okay. So click all the way over to the left. Click all the way over to the left, and keep on doing that until we are left with this. Okay, now click OK. Awesome. Right, so the next thing we want to do is close this down, this gradient overlay, and we want to pre-compose this into a new composition. So with the layer selected, Control or Command, Shift and C, and we'll call this B and W texture, so black and white texture. Open new composition, yes. Move all attributes, yes, and click OK. Excellent. So what we've got is this now, with that anchor point dead in the middle, you can see there, because it was copied from the previous one. So that's good. What we want to do is come back into here. Now we want to get twist. Okay. And where's twist? No, twirl, isn't it? Twirl. So type in twirl, and we'll drag this onto our black and white texture, and we want the center to be the center of this to be dead in the center by there. So just click there and zoom in and just make sure that it's there. Also, because we've made this a new composition now, what we want to do is make sure our anchor point for the layer which is this one, is in the center. So get your anchor point tool and move this right into the center like so, okay, and really zoom in and make sure it's dead in the center. Okay, so that's going to be there. Right, now coming back to this twill, so get our selection tool, coming back to the twill, you've got Twill Radius and the angle of the twill. Okay, so if we bring this up to about maybe just zero that out and go to 1 revolution, okay, with the center dead in the center, and twill radius of 100, or maybe, yeah, twill radius of, I think, 100. Yeah, that's fine. 100 will be good. Excellent, so we've got that. Okay, so let's turn our color wheel beneath back on, and we'll see where we are. Okay, good, so we got this on top. Now what we want to do is toggle switches, and we'll turn the black and white texture mode to multiply, and I'm going to hit T for opacity, and I'm going to take this to about 25. Okay, so this is on top like so. And what I'm also going to do, you can see there's maybe a little bit of an edge issue there. So I am going to, when that anchor point's dead in the center, I'm going to hit S to scale it up, and I'm going to put it to about 105%. So you can see it's just going to go over the edges like so. You can scale up a little bit if you want. Yeah, something like that. Okay, and now to stop the edges appearing, what you want to do, get your color wheel, Control D to duplicate it, drag it above, okay, and now with the track matte, when you can see the track matte, and if you can't see that, click toggle switches, and maybe if you need to, you can click and drag, this out like so, but you should be able to see it. So yeah, go to black and white texture now, and go to track matte, alpha matte color wheel 2, so it'll just limit it to there, and then you'll have no issues. Okay, now before we kind of animate it spinning, we want to do one more thing. I'm going to get my color wheel again, and I'm going to duplicate it and put it to the top. Okay, and then I'm going to go in, I'm going to go to layer styles, I'm going to delete the gradient overlay, and I'm going to delete the bevel and emboss. So we've just got a white one here. Okay, what I want to do then with this selected, I want to get my ellipse tool with color wheel 3 selected. We'll change this to highlight just so we know what it is. There we go. So with this highlight selected, you want to get the ellipse tool and make sure, come to here, make sure that you've got tool creates mask, not tool creates shape. Okay, so select tool creates mask, and now we'll draw a mask on this shape layer. Okay, and look what happens. Okay, so we'll get something kind of like that. So you want a more or less perfect circle like so. Okay, and now we can move this mask around to about there, come to the mask settings, click subtract, so we're just left with this little kind of glint thing like this. Okay, so what we're going to do then is, essentially we've got a circle there and we're masking it, and we're going to then blur it. But before we do that, let's just come to the S for scale, scale it down, scale a layer down slightly like so, and then that's going to fit perfectly on there. So what we want to do now to make it fit better is go to the effects and presets, type in fast for fast blur, put that on the highlight, and we want to turn this fast blur to about 50. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, maybe a bit too much, so let's go 40. It's a little bit nicer. So we've got that sort of glint on there now, which is quite nice. So that's our highlight. And the final thing we want to do is we want to animate, hit R on the black and white texture, we want to animate the rotation of this. So to do that, you can set a keyframe, but I'm going to alt click. I'm going to type in time times 150. I think that's what I went with before, but you can kind of play around. So then we've got this. Okay, nice little animation. Now the last thing I want to do before I finish up, like I have in other tutorials, so I want to enable motion blur for the composition and hit toggle switches and enable motion blur for the black and white texture. So it's got a little bit of motion blur on there just to make it look a lot more effective. And there you are. You have your final Apple, I don't know what they actually call it, Apple Mac loading wheel. So cheers for tuning in. I hope you found this one useful. Keep your eyes peeled for some of our other tutorials. Check them out on the channel. Give a subscribe and like if this helped, and also make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you use to keep up to date with our upcoming tutorials. So cheers for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in another tutorial.